What's up guys, Richard back again for another video. Today I wanted to go ahead and do another sales video. This one's going to be leaning heavily on my previous history working door-to-door sales for a cable company. So it's going to be leaning quite a bit on that experience, but there's going to be a lot of core tips in here that you can take away for a lot of different sales positions. This is going to be my 10 tips for direct sales or door-to-door sales on how to close the deal. So number one is actually something that you're gonna do the day before you're going out, and that is to smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm. For real though. The first one is you wanna be very well rested, so you need to get plenty of sleep the day before, and I'm talking about somewhere in the ballpark of 7 to 9 hours of sleep. And I know there's a lot of successful entrepreneurs out there that might say something to the contrary, but even if you have more time in the day to utilize by getting less sleep, most of that time I feel is not very productive. If I'm more well rested, I'm a lot more productive for longer hours, and I put in more hard work during that time I'm being productive than I would for the times that I would just get a little bit of sleep. So if you're productive getting less hours of sleep all throughout the day, then good on you and keep it up. But in my opinion, I think it's very important to have a lot of rest the day before you go out. Number two also starts the day before and the day of in the morning, and that's rehearse a pitch. Now I know a lot of door reps don't like the idea of writing out a pitch or taking a successful pitch and just rehearsing it, because when you get to the door, if you're new out of the academy, you already know that you end up sounding kind of robotic and the flow is all off. I get it. But at the end of the day, if you have a well-rehearsed pitch and you're able to master it, and you're just doing it unconsciously, you're not even consciously thinking about it anymore, then you will be more successful than someone who's just trying to completely wing it. And how you get there is you take, probably some of the great ones out of the academy are probably actually, if you're working for a big company, trust me, they've invested a lot of time and money into what works and what doesn't. So take those pitches that they gave you, maybe do a little bit of your own research and really get into it and just start rereading it. Type it out, write it out, whatever helps, and just reread it. Like the night before, just reread the whole thing multiple times. And the night before, don't try to rehearse it off the top of your head. Just reread it over and over again right before you go to sleep. Sleep on it, and then the next day when you wake up, read it a couple more times, and then try to rehearse it in front of a mirror without the paper. And if you can do that, I think it'll really get ingrained into your brain. And it really takes actually going out there and implementing it. And what I mean by that is when you actually get to the first door, just immediately implement it and start using it. You might find that it's a little difficult at first and that you struggle with it and you end up sounding a little bit robotic. But the more you do it, the more you use it, the more fluid you will become. So I think it's absolutely important to really utilize this. I promise you it will improve your sales. Number three should be something you should also do early in the morning, the day that you're planning on going out and knocking doors. And that's to do all of your callbacks and follow-ups and emails. Anything that you can do from your house in the morning before you even get ready. And it just what it does is it puts your feelers out there to try to see if anybody's interested that you had previously made contact with before. And you might start off with an early sale, you don't know, but it's really important. The first thing I like to do is try to do early emails and send those out. You're not gonna bother anybody. Maybe finish getting ready, and maybe a little bit later in the morning, 9 or 10 o'clock, then maybe try to do a few of your callbacks. Number four, and this one I actually did a whole entire video on, and I'll link to it somewhere up here, is you want to be able to overcome those initial objections at the door, and you want to try to just make contact. Once you're getting to the contact phase and you're past the the door getting slammed in your face phase, then you can actually get into pushing forward to actually making the sale. And like I said, I'll link to that video, and it gives a lot of tips to overcome that initial objection, just so you can start to kind of get into your main pitch. The other part of this is you utilize your main pitch that you rehearsed that morning, the night before, and just immediately implement this at the door, and you'll start improving on that pitch immediately. I mean, there's no better time to start now. Number 5 is getting to know your audience. And this is the discovery phase. So this is after you've overcome any initial objections at the door, you kind of just made contact, introducing yourself, and now you're at a point where you want to start getting to know who you're talking to. And a lot of people go into it with this general assumption that they already know who their general audience is, and they can sell to them, and they don't need to ask any of these questions. I mean, I was there, I've been in this position before, I understand, but trust me, every single person that you talk to is going to be unique and different, and you have to ask these discovery questions to really be able to tailor your pitch. I mean, you don't want to start off, hey, I have this great product, look at all this stuff that it can do for you. Here, they're not going to connect on anything with you, because they're like, okay, it's great that it can do all this, but how is this really helping me? To really be able to connect on an emotional level with your prospect is you really want to ask the right discovery questions. I did do a short video about emotions and how to connect this, and this is all about asking the right questions, and I'll link to that video somewhere up here. So go check that video out. It'll kind of give you a little bit better understanding of exactly what I'm talking about here. I mean, one of the very first things you want to ask is, hey, are you the homeowner? If they say yes, then immediately you're talking to the person that's going to be able to make this decision and buy from you. Something you might want to ask is, what shows do you enjoy watching, whenever you get home from work every day? And if they say, oh, well, I just have Netflix, we only have internet, we're a cable cutter, or anything along those lines, then immediately, just don't even try to pitch them the TV at that point. So it's just really important to not waste your time. You want to get straight to the point, figure out what's important to them, figure out what they use, how they use it, how often they use it, how it impacts them on a daily basis, whether it's for work-related stuff and a good, strong connection is important to them, or they just love watching a particular show every day. I mean, you got to really figure out what questions to ask, depending on what products or services you're selling, to really be able to tailor. So you don't want to start off with the features. You want to be able to ask them and find out how they use whatever products or services that you might be offering, and then you customize your pitch into basically explaining to them. You show them you already know that your product's the best. You already have this vision in your mind. I hope so. If you're not, then stop working here now, because you're not going to make any money. But you have this vision, and after you understand how that it impacts them on an emotional level, you want to be able to bring your vision into. I mean, it'd be so much easier if you just take your vision out and plop it in their head, and then they could just, oh wow. But unfortunately, life doesn't work that way, and you have to be able to effectively communicate to them what your vision is. So some of the great questions you can ask is, what services do you use? What channels or shows do you watch on a regular basis? Who in your household watches these? I mean, if you see kids running around, oh, what's your kid's favorite show, And then you can kind of tailor your pitch into being able to relate that with them on an emotional level. So, if their current provider doesn't offer some shows that maybe their kids might like or used to like from a previous provider, then you can use that. Just ask them, why is it important for you to have these things? And after you're done gathering all this information, you really want to ask them to smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm. But for real, once you know these things, then maybe you can transition a little bit from there into finding out I'm sure you'll find out pretty early on who their current provider is. That's a great discovery question also. And then maybe you can find out what their pain might be from that. And then you can use some of these discovery questions you asked to help position your pitch on an emotional level to this person. Why is it important to them? Well, I have this solution. You want to take what you're offering, what your products and services are, and you want to turn them into a solution to their problems. Do you have any issues with, something not downloading? Does it go down a lot? I mean, it's going to depend on how the conversation's going, but you can start whittling away and getting really into the meat, finding out what their pain might be with the current provider, and then you can customize that. Well, look, I have an internet speed that's going to be much faster than what you currently have, and it never goes down. We're really reliable. We're the most reliable company in this area. Wouldn't it be so much better for you to not have to worry about, in the middle of some report or email that you're doing, that your internet goes down and now you're going to be late on this report? But with our reliable network, I promise you don't have to worry about that. Once you feel like you've gotten enough information, don't ask too many questions. Don't ask questions just for the sake of asking questions. Every question that you ask should have a purpose. So your questions are going to go from kind of general in the beginning, and they're going to slowly get narrowed down into a particular set of questions. And once you feel like you have all of the information that you need, maybe you've found out a little bit of their pain with their current provider, then just stop asking the questions there and start going into creating your vision for them. Number 6, I already briefly mentioned, you're going to want to connect what you've learned in discovery from asking those questions into a unique, tailored, personal, and emotional pitch that your vision for them, and how your products are going to be a solution to what issues that they might have. Whatever you found out in discovery, you're going to want to now customize that using your products and services that you're offering as a solution to their pain or whatever issues, or something that they're missing in their life. You're going to present that, your vision, to them. And I did a video on this not that long ago, how to sell anything, and that's what it's all about, is how you take the right questions, how you ask the right questions, and you take those and connect them on an emotional level, and then you're presenting that to whoever your prospect is. And if you can do that effectively, then you're going to be able to get them engaged, get them interested, and you're going to be able to show them how you can actually help. What are you providing that's going to be able to help their life? Number 7 is, the second you see a buying sign, something like, well, how much, if they're asking how much is it, or other details about maybe the contract or the company, as soon as you see buying signs, stop asking questions, stop doing whatever you're doing, and just ask for the sale. And this is something you're probably going to end up having to do 4, 5, 6, or even more times throughout this whole process. But it's very important. You don't want to keep asking wrong questions when they're asking they're asking questions and they're interested in buying. Why are you rambling on about something else? So it's really important, just if you feel like they have a buying sign, they're asking buying questions, then just stop whatever you're talking about and go straight into it. So after you've asked, well, hey, you want to go ahead and try us out then? If they come up with some other objection, then you want to try to either do one of two things. So you either want to reassure them, with some kind of proof, or maybe a money-back guarantee, or whatever it is. Or maybe this is where you might be able to utilize some of the pain that you discovered when you first asked their discovery questions, maybe bring some of these up. I do remember you mentioned that your internet was a little intermittent and you were having some issues with that right now. With us, I know you won't have that same issue. And after you feel that you've successfully overcome whatever that objection was, you just want to ask for the sale again. And you rinse and repeat all of this process until you've basically overcome all of their objections and they just don't have anything else to do but to buy. So once you feel like you're at this point, then you can so let's go ahead and get the boring paperwork out of the way. Now there is a point where you don't want to just keep getting into objections, because it may not be that they're actually having buying signs, but it might just be that they just don't want to tell you no. There might be a point where you realize that you're probably wasting your time and wasting their time. So if you go through about 5 cycles of overcoming objections and clearing the air, overcoming objection, clearing the air, and you're finding that they're still coming up with more objections as to why they don't want to buy, then it might be a good idea to know when to cut it off. And that brings me to number 8, which is learn when to cut it off. So if you've gone through all the previous steps in this process and you're still not finding them able to want to buy, or maybe the buying signs weren't quite as strong as you thought they were, then this is probably one of your final attempts to ask for the sale. You can just simply say, hey, look, I hear all your concerns. Maybe repeat some of their concerns or questions back to them so they actually know. So you're not just saying I hear them, but they know that you've heard them. And say, look, I really feel like our products or services are going to be a perfect fit for you. I really think it'll help impact your life, or I really think it'll help improve what you're doing right now. This is the reason why. Why don't you just give us a try? Once you get to this point, you can use, if you have a money-back guarantee, you can say something to the effect of, look, why don't you just give us a try? Try us out in your home. Don't cancel your other service yet. Just try us out. We have this money-back guarantee. And, who am I? I can sit here and tell you about how great we are all day. But wouldn't you like to make a lot more informed decision and try us out on your own so and then you can compare the two products side by side? How does that sound to you? And if you try this and this last stitch effort isn't working, then it's a good idea to just politely end the conversation, maybe get a little bit of their contact information, leave some of your contact information, and just end it there. So number 9 is what I like to call the Hail Mary. So everything's already said and done, you're wrapping things up, you're starting to leave or walk out the door, and as you're doing this, maybe you want to stop and turn around and say, well, one last thing before I go. I was wondering if there was anything that I could have said or done differently, or anything else that I might have been able to bring to the table that might have made you change your mind. And what you're doing is you're doing a couple things. So you're trying to clear any last minute objections, and you're trying to get a little bit of feedback on yourself just so you can improve on yourself. At the end of the day, if you want to be a better salesman, you really have to understand this stuff. So after you ask them, just let them talk. And if you feel that they have an objection that maybe you can overcome, try to clear that objection and ask for the sale again. If you feel like you successfully cleared that objection, ask for the sale. This is your last chance to ask for the sale. And if they're still hesitant, or it's a no, or a maybe, or anything other than yes, then at least try to soft close them and say something like, so if I were able to do or bring blank, you would go with us? And if they say yes, then that might be something that you can follow up on. If it's a pricing issue, when you get new ads, that's someone you can go back to. You might be able to close them then. But just try to gather a little bit of information, and you're leaving on a good terms with a positive note. And it's positive for you, it's positive for them. And after all that, just thank them for their feedback, thank them for their time, and move on to the next door, because you don't want to waste any more of your time. And that brings us to the last one, number 10, which is to improve yourself. So if you've done everything that you can, you've followed all of these tips, you go home at the end of the day, sometimes you feel defeated, you didn't get a sale. The best way to really pull yourself up and help motivate yourself is just to work on improving yourself. Invest time in improving your craft and what you do. And there's a lot of things you can do here. I made a video towards the end. It was the bad weather video. I'll link to it somewhere up here. There's a couple of things. Rehearse your pitch, like I mentioned early on. And read books. There's a couple of great books I mentioned in that video, and I'll give a couple of links to those at the bottom. Any other books that help you with your communication skills, any courses, or any other things that you can do to help just make yourself a better communicator. There's a really great YouTuber. I'm sure if you haven't heard of his YouTube channel, you will absolutely know who he is. He had a really big movie, and that's The Wolf of Wall Street. In the real life person, Jordan Belfort. He has some of his older videos. He goes into detail about body language, what to say, the process of sale. Some of his videos are really great. I'll put a link to his channel down below. You should absolutely go and check him out. You should read these books, do rehearsal, get plenty of sleep. Try to, take a mental break. I know this job can be really stressful sometimes, so it's important to maybe try something like meditation. It doesn't have to be anything spiritual or anything. It's just trying to clear your mind. If you take a physical vacation, try to keep it short, because I mean, you're going to be missing a lot of your sales and callbacks and referrals and stuff if you're on a vacation for too long. So, I mean, just try to do that at least for maybe a couple days or something like that, just to kind of clear your mind. Maybe exercise. I mean, there's a lot of things that you can do to improve your mood, which is very important, improve your craft, improve your knowledge and information, and improve yourself. A really motivational thing that can really help kind of outline what you want to do is to write yourself a goal list. Where do you see yourself in 6 months, 1 year, 5 years, whatever it may be. And at the end of that, you want to have a vision. I mean, goals are always changing, but at the end of that, you really want to have a vision that's driving you. It's going to be the main driving force. And I did a video on setting goals and goal challenges, and I'll link to that somewhere up here. But I mean, that's the main thing that you really want to do to keep you motivated, to get you excited to wake up the next day and go to work. So I want to give a couple of quick last minute tips. One would be always ask for referrals. If you made a sale and you felt positive about it and everybody was happy, then just, ask them, hey, I know I was able to help you out today. If you have any friends, family, or neighbors that you think I might be able to help out too, then feel free to give them my information. And like I said, something else is to make sure to smash that like button. But for real, make sure you follow up on, just because you've closed them at the door, don't think that that's the end of the sale. You want to make sure, for this one, install is a big one. You want to make sure that goes smoothly. Just tell them, hey, if you have any questions or concerns at all, avoid using problems because that's going to give them the wrong notation. So just say, hey, if you have any questions or concerns at any moment, don't hesitate to reach out to me. And if you kind of give them that, then they're going to feel a little bit more relaxed. So if something does come up that is an issue, they know that they can rely on you to alleviate that issue. Another one is, obvious, I did a video on this and I'll link to it. Don't lie, don't be dishonest. Don't do anything shady. There's a lot of sales reps out there that end up giving a bad rep to all of the other sales reps that are trying to be genuine and honest. So don't do any of that. A couple other things, and some companies may not let you or restrict you on what you can do here, but a couple of really good things that might help you just boost your sales a little bit in this position is look for new builds, like that's neighborhoods that are just now being built. You want to get them at a point where the homes are pretty much built and everything's put in, but most of the people haven't moved in yet. And just go and leave a little bit of your information on the door so whenever someone's checking it out, they can see that. And maybe, you want to get them before they have services, because if they already have services, they're going to get into a contract and you're going to be too late at that point. So you want to try to get them before they move in or on the day that they're moving in. If you see a moving truck, go to that house. Another thing you can do on the same thing on the new build areas is find the housing or real estate agents that are, in charge of the area. A lot of times they'll have one house and it's designated as the show house, and usually they have an office in there. Go, like I said, some companies restrict what you can and can't do in these situations, so check with your manager if you're not sure. But if they're okay with it, then go in, talk to them, introduce yourself, put a friendly face, leave them some information, and a lot of them will probably pass along your information when they're showing their houses. They want to make their process as easy as they can to be able to get a person moved in, sell the house, and fill up the neighborhood. So if you're facilitating that in any way, they will absolutely be happy to pass out your information. And the final quick little tip is just make sure you're having fun. I know it's cliche, but motivation and your energy and mood are so important in this job that if you can't stay positive and motivated, even in the hardest of times, then you're going to find it really hard to make a sale. And if you can do that, if you can have fun, find ways to have fun, joke around, and be successful, you will absolutely stay consistent and continue to be successful in this job. And as always, guys, if you made it this far, make sure you smash that like button, subscribe, hit the little notification bell so you can be notified when I upload future content, and make sure to follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. The links to those will be down in the description below.